Conclave is becoming richer in terms of content over the years, and we are trying very hard to keep it small. And the reason we want to keep it small is because we want it to be very practitioner focused. We want that people should be able to go back to their office on Monday and apply this. And if that has to happen, it has to happen in small groups of people, not in large groups of people. So it is important for us to keep it small. So far, we have huge pressure. Last evening, despite having cleared many people on the waiting list, we still had 226 people on the waiting list. So how do we keep it small? So we're trying to keep it small by adding more breakout tracks. So 2 years back, we had only 3 breakout tracks. Last year, we made that 5. This year, we have 6. So that is the way we are trying to solve the problem. So that means more work, and more work means more volunteers. And the good news is that this is this counterintuitive thing where just demand breeds more supply. Since our supply of volunteers is increasing at least as fast, not even, I would say even faster than the demand that we need. So we are in good shape. So it remains relatively manageable for that reason. Right. So that's by design a provocative statement, obviously, right? That India will rise out of poverty because of software products. But having said it's provocative, it is in the minds of many of us who are active in the product community, definitely something that we believe is the case. And I'll make an argument, a longer argument that I could make in this thing. So India has 2 futures. It could be a country which gets hollowed out to global competition like UK has become, right? Or if that is the bleak scenario, the golden scenario is that India could be like Germany, where its small businesses are competitive on a global basis. Now the difference between the two, which one will manifest, is actually going to depend whether small businesses can embrace information technology to become competitive, right? Because we know information technology is the vehicle to carry best practices inside the organization. What is ERP? ERP is a combination of best practices that you embrace. So far, ERP could only be embraced by a big company. Today, a SaaS-based solution allows you to import best technology into your company at a price point that is 25 rupees per employee per month, right? So therefore, it makes this accessible for every small business. And India will therefore, in many of our people believe, because of what is happening with SaaS, India will become the hub for SaaS for small business. Why? Because SaaS today, even today in India, is available at every price point. You have GreyTrip, which is available at 10 rupees per employee per month. You have Salesforce that is available at 3,000 rupees per employee per month. What is the difference between the two? 300 times. The Alto of software is available for 10 rupees, and the Cadillac, which is not even a Cadillac, is available for 300 times that, right? Now what is the difference on the phone? A low-cost phone is available for 2,000, an iPhone is available for 50,000. That's only 25 times. But imagine if in the cell phone market, if low-cost phones were not available and only iPhones were available, do you think it would have revolutionized India's telecom mobile revolution? No. So what is happening is that software for the first time is able to give you high quality software at every price point. A 2,000 rupee phone works just the same way as an iPhone does when it comes to making a call, right? So this range will make sure that SaaS will enter every nook and cranny in India. And if it enters every nook and cranny, it will turn that business, that institution, into a competitive institution. If it does, then we will become a German story rather than a UK story. And if that happens, India will rise out of poverty. So here are data points. One is, if you look at what is happening with YouTube in India, I think that is a very good proxy for what will happen in the future. So YouTube entertainment is definitely, traffic is growing dramatically in tier 2 and smaller towns, tier 3 towns, right? And Google tells a good story about that happening. But even if you if you don't take that into account and say, look, let me look for other data points, I would say look for what is happening with MDIL here in Bangalore, right? Now look at this. They are talking about women's sexual and pregnancy health, right? They're doing it in local languages. They're doing it on video, and even today they are getting a significant proportion of the traffic, which is growing very dramatically from small towns. So I think we are at the cusp of what is happening is changing. So look at GreyTip, which is, we talked about payroll. They have 51 cities covered in India, and many of those cities are really small towns, right? So I think we have already seen examples where savvy businesses in small towns are also able to get online. And now is it becoming millions? It won't, but we are getting close to a tipping point, because people are realizing that this is the way for them to go. Now only today we launched as NASSCOM a report which was done by Nielsen, which was, you probably attended that session. Now, yeah, and once you do that, you will see that, very large proportion of the SMBs, and I'm talking about 80+%, say that they understand this and they propose to use it in the near future, right? So you are finding that the awareness has come in, but implementation will follow, because we have early indications that will happen. So for example, this year, if you noticed in our registration process, there was no early bird discount, but there was a discount for product companies. Why? Because we don't want non-product companies to come to the product conclave, right? Honestly, I'm being blunt and honest here, right? Because if you're not a product company, and so we started curating the audience, right? And why? Because we have fixed number of seats, and we know that there are enough people who have jumped into the mud pit. They're not standing at the side of the mud pit to wonder whether to jump in or not. There are enough people who have jumped in, and we want to be about people who have already jumped in, so that we solve their problem. Now when you look at companies who have already jumped in, the quality of their thinking, the mindset that today, I talked about briefly, and then Naveen talked about in detail if you attended his session, Naveen Tiwari of InMobi, is changing in a very big way. And I think it is partly to do with the younger generation, people who grew up after 1992. This is my hypothesis, that after 1992, people like me who grew up earlier, we had very few opportunities. So we were taught to say, don't let any opportunity go, because who knows, there's no second chances. But people who grew up after 1992, they have grown in a period of prosperity. And so no matter what happens, good things will happen. Now there are some people who chilled out and do nothing. They're passing their time. But there are enough people that you see who are therefore using this as a safety net and says, man, I'm going to shoot for the moon, right? And that mindset of going for big wins is there today, and people understand how to make it happen. And we want this conclave to therefore be about things that are not being addressed by the ecosystem otherwise, and therefore that is about building a business, because we have techies doing it but they don't know how to build a business. So that's what we are trying to solve at this conclave. So we are adapting our program and our entry criteria to be here at the conclave to reflect the increasing maturity of the ecosystem itself. So we have to be careful. I think so I think one realization that has come in is that a faithful replica of the valley is not going to work here, right? And I think that is generally understood by the entrepreneurs today. But I think there are two places where we need a valley connect. One place where we need a valley connect is we want more early stage capital, risk capital to come in. While entrepreneurship has grown, the amount of early stage risk capital, angel and VC capital that is available hasn't grown that fast. So if David McClure is willing to invest in India and others are willing to invest in India, that can only be good for our entrepreneurs, right? So I think there is more of that should happen. Second, I think if we have Indian nanos and altos, in the software area, they have the potential to go global, and they do have a potential to go global. They have to engage the Valley ecosystem to allow them to do that. And so I think there is a case to be made for a tighter linkage between Valley and, I would say, Bangalore, because Bangalore is the Valley of India. And but a tighter linkage doesn't mean that we do copycat. In fact, over time, my own guess is that we will have more to export in terms of business models and ideas than we will import. And we are beginning to get there over time. You know, I've been an entrepreneur before. As you know, I sold my company earlier to Cisco, and I'm an entrepreneur again. And I think there's something magical about entrepreneurship that once it bites you, you can't let it go. The other part, which I think, you know, very frankly, I feel that I have learned a lot from this volunteer process. See, because and I've been privileged to work in startups, and I've also been, I would say, successful in a big company setting. And I find that the difference in a volunteer model and a big company setting is very substantial. In a big company setting, you are successful if you take charge, right? Take charge and drive forward. Here in a volunteer model, you are successful if you let go, right? Because now once the conclave comes about, you know, you are a few weeks away. Either people who are doing this have taken ownership. If they have, you better not interfere in it, because, you know, they've taken ownership and they'll do something with it, right? And if they haven't taken ownership, it's too late to do anything about it, right? So by then the cake is baked, right? I mean, although the thing happens today and tomorrow, but a few weeks ago it is baked based on how much ownership. Now, for some reason, we've been super blessed in people always, in all the 4 years, people actually have taken ownership, right? So therefore it works out very well. So I have started wondering why that is the case. And the reason I think that is the case is because I have concluded, which I talked about in the morning, that a product entrepreneur is a different breed of entrepreneur than a restaurant entrepreneur, than a garment industry entrepreneur, because they are niche fillers. They identify a niche. They say Malleshwaram doesn't have Italian restaurant, can I open an Italian restaurant? There's nothing wrong in that. You fill a niche, you are a rent seeker. But a product entrepreneur is an arms merchant. He says, look, if I can supply something to a restaurant as a product, will it make that restaurant a winner in their competitive environment? And if so, you know, will it disrupt the market? So they are an arms merchant mindset. It's a disruptor mindset. And ironically, a disruptor mindset also comes with an ecosystem mindset. And so that is what I think we are benefiting from. That we have hugely competent people, super competent people, but they're also very competent in volunteering, right? And therefore the model is working. And I think will continue to work because it's not people dependent, right? I mean, it's you can replace any one of us, and I think it will still happen as you go forward. So I think there are three that to my mind. You know, one, unfortunately, a startup cannot solve it, but can deal with it. There is a shortage of early stage capital, right? So it is like finding an auto rickshaw to go to a short fair when it's raining in Bangalore, right? You know, the guy will not agree because there's a supply and demand mismatch. He knows if he waits a little longer, he'll get a long fare. And there is the same thing when an entrepreneur goes to an investor. Investor has today so many options that they pick and choose. So the question for the entrepreneur is how to become, you know, the person that will get selected. So it is a solvable problem in that way, and people are getting savvier about it year on year. So that is one big problem that remains. I don't think it will get solved in the short term. It will take some time to solve. Second is we found a way for Indian companies to sell to small businesses in the West, because the small businesses in the West are comfortable buying on the web. So it's easy for somebody to sit in Bangalore or Chennai or Calcutta and learn to sell to small businesses in the West. But selling to Indian businesses still requires high touch. And we therefore need to come together and do joint marketing for that. And I'm happy to tell your community that they should watch out for something like this. In January, a community-led effort to address this will be launched. Right. So it will hopefully, if the pilot is going on as we speak, and the pilot involves touching 10,000 small businesses, and if that pilot is successful, then to be able to launch it to millions will happen. And I think that will provide some succor and help to the companies at large. And it's again a non-profit, self-help kind of a model, volunteer model that we're talking about here. So that's the second area that is very important. Third area, I think that is going to remain, very, very important, is to find a safety net, and that requires cultural change inside families. See, the Silicon Valley safety net is that if you fail, then your chances of getting capital next time actually go higher, because two things being equal, there is a premium placed on failure and saying, look, you now have battle scars, we will make a bet on you. You've learned something from this. Now that is not the safe system that we have created, right? So our safety will have to come from our family support systems, saying, beta, tum 5-7 saal try kar lo, you give it a shot for 5-10 years, we will support you. Now that is starting to happen, but I think more of that needs to happen. That is how people will make this game-changing leap, and I think hopefully we'll get there as more success stories happen. No, I used to also say that. If you came to me 2 years ago, I also said exactly the same thing. I have capital as an individual investor, but I can't deploy it. But frankly, the quality of entrepreneurship has gone up. So if you look at just December onwards, my own story, right? I've invested in OrangeScape, then I invested in Unboxed, Hashcube, ORSNet, Birdseye.
I would believe that is the second term.
All mostly through IN, right? But that's besides the point. The point is that suddenly I am now saying, no, should I be making 6 investments a year? Right? Because I am also, why did that happen? Is because suddenly things are becoming available. I think the quality of entrepreneurs is improving. And I think that problem will go away. For many people who are early enough, I think the problem for me has gone away.
Having softness of demand.
Right? So, and I think for slightly later stage investors, it will start going away over time. It will take a year or so for that to happen.